Even though there's such a small percentage of Americans that wear the uniform now with an all-volunteer force, I think more and more people now know somebody from their family, from their neighborhood, who have served over the last decade. This has been one of the longest periods of time in our nation's history that we've been at war, and so it's personal now. And making sure that they don't just come back with a smile and a hug, but they come back with the services that they need, whether they're continuing with a military career and they need that assistance to just keep going, or whether they're transitioning to a civilian life, to recognize that work is more than just what we say. It's what we do for housing, education, for jobs, and making sure that those who have put on the nation's uniform continue to get the recognition and the support that they need. When I recognized that so few in my generation would ever wear the uniform, it was important for me to serve. Even though, like many folks who are in the Guard and Reserve, we have full lives and full careers, I couldn't not do it. It would have been something I would regret for the rest of my life, especially after 9/11, when you felt this nation under attack and the need to step up and to defend this country. When I see the sacrifices that are made by my fellow shipmates, and I serve most recently in a unit that includes all the branches of the military, we really are one team and one country, and I think it's a great reminder to our national leaders that we're Americans before any other label that we put on ourselves. I think we definitely exercised whatever demons were there from the Vietnam War, and it's so wonderful to see Vietnam vets here, to say thank you to them, because they felt like a country rejected them when they came home. I think this next generation grew up in a very different time, when we were directly attacked on our homeland, who understand the importance of loving this country. But in Los Angeles, it's a unique American population, because people come here from over 150 countries. So they're ABC, they're American by choice, which means, of course, they're patriotic. They chose this country, and they love this country. Those of us who are American by birth sometimes can get a reminder through their eyes of just how important those liberties we have are. At the end of World War I and World War II, there was a set ending date. The war that we fight now is an ongoing one. So it was easy for a country to do the parades and the welcome home. Here it's more difficult, so the edifices like Patriotic Hall that were built at those moments to thank the sailors, the soldiers, the airmen and airwomen of the time, we need to rededicate ourselves, literally and figuratively. And the rededication of the building, to me, means that whether you're coming home next week, whether you're coming home next year, there is a place for you, a one-stop shop where we say thank you and we get you the help that you need. Then this ship, it's a mighty, mighty symbol of this nation. Only here in America could something like this have happened. That it's here anchored in port is wonderful. We've surpassed all the expectations in terms of number of visitors, so it's great for economic development, but most importantly to revive that patriotism around us. Just when it would roll into a port, it said America. It spoke about our strength, and it spoke about our values. This was a ship that was put into retirement a couple times and brought out of retirement because it was so great and so grand. Now this is its final resting place, and I can't think of a better place for it to be than in America's #1 port. I think for a long time we just assumed other people would pick up the slack with our veterans. The federal government was taking care of it just through the VA, but local governments touch people most immediately. We know everybody through our neighborhoods. We see them at our libraries and our parks. So it was important to me to reestablish that link, especially because Los Angeles has more veterans returning than anywhere in the country, and we've given more in these recent wars in terms of casualties than any other city in America. The county has great programs, the state has good programs, and federal government does, but I think it's that local city government that can most directly touch people's lives and connect them with the help they need. That's why I reestablished it. We see veterans in our midst, not just young veterans returning, but veterans who have been out on the streets for decades. I met one when we did our annual homeless count here in Los Angeles that was sleeping underneath a freeway here in LA. David, he served in Vietnam. He had been homeless for over a decade. And we woke him up at about 4:30 in the morning just to interview him and hear his story. And just to listen to his story and to realize how alone he was, how isolated he was. We can't let any veteran live that way. And now we have him on the pathway to becoming permanently housed, to getting the services he needs to battle whatever addiction or mental health issues he has, and to finally come home. A lot of people came back to America, but they never came home. And we are doubly dedicated to making sure that doesn't happen again. Well, we hope that the American Legion and all VSOs, together with community groups, will use the city of Los Angeles as a place that they can come to convene people, for instance, using city facilities for meetings and for veterans fairs, to let people who come through our service, whether it's somebody needs help from taxes or after school assistance, will learn about how somebody in their family who's a veteran can get help too. So those two things together are really important because we touch everybody's lives, but we can't do it without the VSOs. And the American Legion has incredible programs to make sure that those veterans that are out there today aren't left in isolation. Veterans come home with skills. They're electricians, they're carpenters, they know how to do logistics, they know how to work in teams. And so whether it's in Hollywood and the entertainment industry or elsewhere, people realize that veterans have an amazing set of values and skills they can bring to civilian careers anywhere. And also I think Hollywood has recognized the service. We see more programs, things like NCIS, we see Army Wives, all of those programs that remind folks that these aren't just a different class of Americans, they are us. They are America.